Hi, I'm Veronica and welcome to Jersey City Pilates. Today for class, all you will need is a dish towel, and we're going to be working in all planes of motion, a bit of rotation, side bending, and flexion and extension as well. We'll get started. Thanks. Good morning. All you need, as I mentioned, is a dish towel, which you can just leave off to the side for the time being, but come to stand at the tops of your mats or anywhere on your mat really. And then just let your knees be nice and soft, and then just nod your head and round down one vertebrae at a time. Let your arms be super, super heavy. And then just notice if the back of your legs are nice and tight. And then just take one big inhale. And then exhale, feel your crown of your head drop towards the floor. And then inhale. And exhale, draw yourself up one vertebrae at a time, nice and slowly. And then lift your arms up overhead. And then externally rotate your right arm, reach down with the right arm and reach up with the left arm. So you're taking a nice little side bend here. And then internally rotate your right arm and then switch sides. So reach up with the left, reach down, or up with the right, down with the left. And then press up and over to the other side. And then still thinking about length on one side, on both sides rather, not on one side. And then up and over in the other direction. And then come all the way up to the top. You can clasp your hands together, your thumbs, whatever works for you. Bend your knees a bunch, and then you're gonna round forward over your legs, only part way, and then reach through the side as you come up. A little back bend, and then around all the way one more time to the left. Just moving your spine in all the directions to get started. And then stop in the back, and then reverse your circle. We're gonna do 3 to the right. Lifting up the front of your ribs, lifting up the back of your ribs, depending on what direction you're going in. One more. And then stop at the top, cross your right leg over your left, keep your hands connected, and then side bend up and over towards the left, rooting down through both feet. And then let your shoulders just relax so that you're not squeezing your ears with your arms. And then come all the way up to the top, cross the left leg over the right, and then side bend up and over to the right side. And maybe you've been up for a couple hours, or maybe you've been up for 20 minutes. Slowly getting your spine moving, and then just round yourself down again, one vertebrae at a time. This time be towards the back edge of your mat, and you're just gonna walk yourself out into a plank. Tuck your tailbone under, feel your hip bones drop up towards your ribs, and then drop your knees nice and wide as your mat, or wider than your hips, and then sit back onto your heels. And then while you're here in a child's pose, think that someone is pressing one hand in between your shoulder blades away from your tailbone and another hand on your sacrum in opposition. Really trying to find that length, letting your sitting bones drop down towards your heels. Take a nice big inhale, ribs drawing wide to the sides, and then exhale. Feel your ribs start to draw towards one another in the front. And then again, take another big inhale. And then exhale, lower down towards the floor, press your armpits down towards the floor, and feel your shoulder blades separate from one another. One more breath here, inhale wide to the sides. And then exhale, draw your ribs in, press your armpits down towards the floor. And then feel that connection around your shoulders with your armpits, and then come back onto all fours. Knees are right underneath your hips. And you're just gonna sit back towards your hips and then come around. Your shoulders can go over your wrists and then back towards your hips. So again, making a little circle here with your hips, getting extension, flexion through the hips, through the wrists. One more time to the right. And then to the left. And make sure you're breathing as you're moving. And then stop in the center. Find your neutral spine, feel the crown of your head draw away from your tailbone, your back is nice and long. And then you're gonna feel your hips start to tuck under, Your tailbone lengthens down between your legs, your low back starts to round, draw your hips up towards your ribs, and then round your spine up towards the ceiling, and then drop your head. And then again, starting at the base of your spine, you're gonna widen your sitting bones. Your ribs are still connected towards your hips in that they're giving support, but they're a little farther away now. Lengthen through the chest, send your collarbones through your arms, head is long, and then tuck your tailbone under and round all the way up towards the ceiling again. And then you can go at your own pace. It feels good to go crazy slow or super fast. Whatever feels good, just make sure that you're not throwing your stomach towards the floor as you're coming into that extension. And also make sure that you're rounding through the low back and not just arching through the upper back. You want to try to have a smooth curve from head to tail. One more time. And last one, round under. And then find your nice neutral spine here. Tuck your toes under and then send your knees up off the ground just an inch. So your weight doesn't really shift. You're literally just lifting your hips and your knees about an inch or so in space. Elbows are soft, so they're not hyperextended. And then you're just gonna lower them back down. So feel the ribs draw up towards the hips, activating your abdominals. Neck is nice and long. And then lower back down. 2 more, heels reach back behind you slightly. Knees are lifted and lower down. Last one like this, lift and hold. We're gonna take 2 breaths here. Nice big inhale, exhale. One more time, inhaling wide to the sides. And exhale, lower your heels or lower your knees, flip your toes under, and then sit back one more time into a child's pose. And then exhale and come back onto all 4s. Staying in this position, again, nice neutral spine. You're going to feel your right abdominals draw towards your right ribs draw towards your left hip. And as you do this, you're gonna lift your right arm up and bring it towards your shoulder on the left side. And then you're gonna extend that arm long. And then externally rotate, sweep it back by your hip. And then you're gonna bend the elbow, bring it back towards that left shoulder, extend it overhead, sweep it back around. And just as you're doing this, we're gonna do 2 more times. Notice where your weight wants to go, where your abdominals are starting to engage. Last one. And then lower that right arm down. So now without as little weight shift as you can, bring your left arm to your right shoulder, extend that arm overhead, externally rotate, sweep it back by your hip, and then bring it back to your shoulder. Now your right ribs are drawing towards your left hip now. And maybe your right side of your body is working harder still than your left because they were just working on the last side. That's fine. And then sweep it around, last one. Lower your left hand down. Now tap your right shoulder with your right arm and place it down. We're gonna alternate shoulder taps. Again, engaging through those abdominals, noticing what's happening. 2 more to each side. Neck is long, tailbone is long. So you're not arching your back. Think that you have a foam roller or something resting on your spine. Tuck your toes under, lift your knees up, and then you're gonna do that same shoulder tap. And notice how much harder this is, how much more you need to stabilize through the abdominals, drawing your ribs towards your hips, maybe moving a little bit slower. Opening up the fingers nice and wide, reaching back through the heels, through the sitting bones. Last one each side. Right, left, and lower down, sit back into a child's pose. And then come up onto your knees, grab your dish towel, and then just have it be nice and long. I fold it a bunch of times, you can just roll it, whatever works for you. And then you're gonna reach your arms up and over, and then let your back arch a little, and then you're gonna find your hips and rib connection. So you're gonna draw your ribs down towards your hips. My arms have to come forward a little bit in front of my head, and then I'm just gonna hinge back. As I do, I'm from my knees, I'm gonna lower my arms in front of me, staying in one nice long line from the knees to the crown of my head, and then come back up, lift the arms as you come back to that tall position. So feel your sitting bones reaching down the backs of your knees, opening up through the front of the hips, and then back up. pull the towel apart as you hinge back from the knees and lift. Your shoulders and hips are moving at the same rate. And up, 2 more. Last one. Now leave your arms at the top. Your ribs and hips are still connected, and you're just gonna side bend up and over to the right, and then back up to the top, and to the left, and over. 2 more to each side. Your head is staying evenly framed in between your arms. Last one. Good, come up to the top. You can let your arms rest for a second. You're gonna plant your right leg, and then you have 2 options, 3 actually. You can cross your arms in front of your chest like this. We're gonna do a side bend out to the side with a little side bend up and over the right leg. So you can either have your arms over your chest, you can bring your hands behind your head, and you can think about length through the spine as you side bend up and over, or the most challenging is to have your hands overhead, just because that's lengthening your lever. Whatever you choose, do what makes sense for you. You can also have your arms straight out in front, actually. I'm gonna start with my arms up and then probably have to lower them. Tuck your tailbone under, draw your hips up towards your ribs. You're open through the hip, reaching long through the upper body. Think about length through that left side as you come over, and then side bend up and over, flexing through the right side, and then come all the way back up, and then out to a long line, and then side bend up. And then up, out on that long line to the left, side bend up and over. Keep weight in that right leg. Up and over to the right. Last one. Side bend up and over. Good. Regardless of where you are, bring your hands behind your head. You can use the towel or your hands, doesn't matter. Come out to that long line. And then from here, you're gonna stay in that long line, rotate down towards the floor, and then rotate back up. Think that your toe and leg is in the same plane as your spine. Twist. Hips stay square to the front, reaching the ribs around. Last one. And then come back to the center, and then side bend up and over. Drop your towel in front of you, reach down that right leg, and get a nice stretch through your left side. Come down onto your right forearm. Not your right, your left forearm. The arm that was not the leg you were using, you're on that side. And then you're gonna stack your knees one on top of the other. Your hips are stacked, and your heels are in line with your butt, and your elbow is right underneath your shoulder. You're gonna lift yourself up into a side plank, and then you're gonna open your leg up into a little clamshell. And then you're gonna lower your leg, lower your hip. And then lift, open, lower, lower. Same thing, lift and lower. Now you're gonna add the lift and the open at the same time. So you're doing your little clamshell as you're lifting your hips. And if this is too much for you, you're just gonna stick with your clamshell here on the ground. They will both give you an equal challenging amount of work. Really thinking about just externally rotating that left leg as you lift and lower. Think length through the crown of your head as you lift. Whether you're on the floor or not, your ribs are pulling away from the floor, so you're not sinking down into that left arm. We have 2 more. Last one. If you are in this lifted side plank position, that's awesome. Close your knees and then lift your top leg. Extend your top leg long, bend it in, and extend and bend, keeping that hip lifted off the ground. And if it's not comfortable, you're doing the exact same thing with your hip on the floor. 3 more. 2. Last one. Lower that leg down, keep your legs stacked, grab onto your shins with your right hand, and just side bend up and over towards the right. And then come all the way back up onto your knees. Grab your towel, and we're gonna do the whole series again now on your left side. Whatever, the other side. Left leg extends. Arms can be in front, overhead, behind your head or across your chest, your choice. And then you're gonna lift your arms up nice and long, lengthen through that line, the crown of your head over to the right side, and then side bend up and over. And then again, lengthen all the way as far as is comfortable, keeping that left foot planted on the ground. This should feel good, especially when you're side bending up and over. Your abdominals are working, your inner thighs are working, but you should still get a nice little stretch here at the end. Up and over, 3 more. If you need to change your hand positioning at any point, do so. Last one. Bring the towel behind your head if it's not there already. Come out to wherever is comfortable and you can stay. Feel your inner thighs draw towards one another, and then lengthen your spine and twist and rotate towards the floor. And then back to the center. And then to the floor. And center. Floor. Center, 3 more. Thinking about bringing your rib cage to face the ground, leaving that left hip out of the picture. Last one. And then come all the way up, drop your towel, reach long down that left leg and side bend up and over with your right arm. And then come down onto your right forearm, finding this bent knee side plank position, and you are going to lift the hips, open the leg, lower the hips. Lift, open, close, lower. 3 more like this. Ribs are still connected towards your hips. And 2. Last one. And now you're gonna lift and open the legs at the same time, close and lower. And again, if you're on your hips at any time, just continuing with that clamshell, focusing for everybody on keeping your hips square towards the floor. We're gonna do 3 more. 2. Last one, keep it lifted, and then you're just gonna lift the top leg and extend it long, bend it back in, and extend and bend. Neck is long as well, looking straight ahead or down at your forearm. 3 more. 2. Last one, bend that knee in, lower the hips, and then side bend up and over your legs to the left side. And then come to sit towards the front of your mat. Your knees can be bent, your arms are straight, and you're just gonna round back, thinking about opening up through the front of the hips, like your sacrum is gonna touch the floor before anything else. And then find a nice comfortable spot. Legs are long or bent, does not matter. Where your ribs are connected towards your hips, you're in a nice rounded lower spine, but your neck is still free, your shoulders are free, you have a little bit of space. You're gonna lift the arms up and then exhale, press down. Lift the arms up, exhale, press down. Wrists are nice and long, so you wanna make sure that they're not bent in one way or the other. You can also extend your fingers long, that may help. Keep your wrists in line. 3 more. As you exhale, think about almost exaggerating in your head, maybe not physically, that rib to hip connection in the front. Last one. And then you're gonna round back and then up. And back an inch, up an inch, back an inch, up an inch. Really tiny movement. You can be at any point in your rounding back. You can be however low or however high you want. Does not matter. 3 more. 2. Last one, roll all the way back. Have your legs be long if they're not yet already, and then reach your arms up overhead. And then feel your arms lift slightly until your back ribs press down into the mat. And then pull the towel apart. Lower the towel over your chest. Nod your chin, lift your head, neck, and shoulders. If you need to drop the towel and grab onto your legs or bend your knees at any point, do so. But you're gonna reach your arms long, round forward, open over your legs. And then stack your spine up nice and tall. Curl the tailbone under. Think about keeping length and height through the head as you peel back. One vertebrae at a time. And then lift the arms up overhead. Keep the back ribs connected now. Arms come over your head, neck, and shoulders lift. Reach from the arms, ribs draw towards your hips, come up and over your legs. Stack your spine up nice and tall. One more time. And then bring your arms right over your shoulders, bend your knees, and plant them on the floor. You're gonna bring your right leg into tabletop, and you're just gonna extend the right leg long and then bend it back in. And then extend it long, bend it in. Head stays on the floor. You're in a nice neutral pelvis here. So you have a little bit of space underneath your low back. Your ribs are drawing towards your hips in the front. And you're pulling that towel apart gently, engaging through the arms. 2 more. Last one, bend that knee in, and now you're gonna lift the arms up overhead, extend the leg, bring everything to the top. And then extend the arms and legs, arms and leg, bend it in, and extend. And bend. 2 more. Last one. And you can leave the arms out of this if you need, lower the leg, switching sides. So nothing changes on your body, just the left leg extends and then bend it back in. Think that you have a little rubber band from your heel to your sitting bone. And as you bend and extend, you want to do so slowly with connection through those 2 flanks as to not flick yourself in the back of the leg with that rubber band. 2 more. Notice if your weight is dropping over towards your left hip. Pause here, and then extend the arms and the leg. Bring it back in, extend, and however far you go overhead is up to you, but try to keep those back ribs on the mat. 2 more. My zipper on my pants is poking me. And then come to the top. Leave your left leg where it is. Bring your right leg to meet it. You're gonna glue your heels together, externally rotate, and you're gonna leave your arms where they are, but extend your legs up towards the ceiling, somewhere between the ceiling and a 45-degree angle, and then bend them back in. And then again, trying to stay in neutral pelvis here. But if this is making you arch your back or it hurts the low back, draw your ribs even more towards your hips and press your low back into the floor. You can also lift your head or bring your hands behind your head and support your head as well. 2 more. Last one. And then pause here, extend the arms, extend the legs, and then lift the head and come back in. Now you're gonna keep your head lifted, you're gonna extend the arms, extend the legs, your low back can be pressing into the floor, and then bend everything in. Keeping those heels pressing together, you're externally rotated. Try to think about zipping up through those inner thighs. 3 more. 2. Last one. And then bend everything in, grab onto the shins with your towel, and then just rock back and forth gently. Now you're gonna lift your head, neck, and shoulders, bring the towel underneath your knees, and then grab onto it with your palms facing you. So you're in like a little bicep curl. And then you're gonna rock yourself up. And then you're gonna sit, not at the top of your mat, come forward a little. I lied. You do want to be at the top of your mat. You want some runway behind you. And then you can have the towel here underneath your knees, and you're gonna find that spot at the top of the mat where you can balance. And then you're just going to grab the towel out so you're not pinching it with your knees, and you're gonna send it down towards your feet, and then you're just gonna bend your elbows back and bring it in towards your knees. So bring the towel, sliding it down your calves, and then bring it back up towards your knees. Balancing here, feeling your ribs drawing in towards your hips. Nice and tall through the crown of your head and your neck, even though you're like slightly rounded through the spine. 2 more. Last one. Bring the towel out from underneath your legs and then bring it in front. Actually, Drop the towel. Bring your heels into your butt. You're hovering here. Your legs can be slightly externally rotated and you're grabbing onto your shins with your hands. You're going to roll back onto the tips of your shoulder blades, but not your head or neck, by curling through the low back, drawing your abdominals in, ribs towards the hips, and then exhale to come up, pause at the top. So use your breath to help bring you up. We'll roll back, up and pause. We're gonna do a couple more. Try to keep those heels and your butt at the same distance as you roll. One or two more. And if you feel like a flat spot, just try to think about breathing and drawing those abdominals towards your spine a little bit more. Last one. Pause at the top. Grab onto your towel. Keep your feet hovering if you can. You are going to roll back. Legs stay lifted. Extend your arms, extend your legs. They can be in parallel now. Draw them towards one another. And then grab onto your shins with the towel and then rock yourself up. Pause here, hold. And then extend your arms long. Round back. You can keep your head up the whole time or lower it if you need. Extend the arms, extend the legs. Bring everything in. You can use that support of the towel if you need, or just try to rock yourself up, keeping the towel apart. And then lift the arms, roll back. Extend the arms, extend the legs. Low back presses into the mat. Hips come in, roll up. One more time. Roll back. Extend the arms, extend the legs. The key here is control as much as possible. These hips come in rather, extend, pause at the top, and you're gonna extend your arms, extend your legs, let your chest come back away from your legs a little into a lovely little teaser, and slowly roll yourself down one vertebrae at a time, and then drop the towel over your head. Reach your fingers and toes long away from one another. Grab onto the backs of your thighs, and then rock yourself up. Pause at the top, place your feet down, and then just give your legs a little hug over, or give yourself a hug by rounding forward over your legs. And then you're gonna come onto all fours again. Your towel can stay out of the way. Bring your right leg back behind you, and then your left leg to meet it. So you're finding that plank position again. And then you're gonna lift your hips up towards the ceiling to find a down dog. You can bend your knees a bunch, but just think that your hips are above your legs, somewhere in space. And your chest is pressing towards the floor a bit. And then come forward into your plank. Ribs are connected towards your hips, low back is lengthened, and then your chest is also lengthened, so not rounding through the upper body. And then slowly lower the knees, untuck the toes, and then bend yourself, your elbows rather, come down onto the floor, one vertebrae at a time, and let your towel come out in front of you. From here, you're gonna reach your arms back towards your feet, and then lengthen one cheek onto the floor. Lift through the arms, externally rotate through the shoulders. Let your head come to float off the floor. And then you're gonna lower back down, cheek to the other side now. And externally rotate through the arms, lift the head, legs stay long on the floor. And then here, lower back down, opposite cheek to the ground. Think about drawing your hips up towards your ribs, your pelvis is pressing into the floor through the pubic bone and your hip bones, and you have that length through your low back. Lift the arms, externally rotate the shoulders, lift, and then come all the way back down. Last time, just like this. Externally rotate, lift the arms, reach back, pause here. And then lower everything all the way down. You can make a little pillow for your head, and your forehead will rest on your hands. And then you're just gonna extend your legs long. Think about lengthening through the hip flexor, and then float your legs off. So all the way from your hip bone to the toes, you are lengthened, and you may not have the thighs off the floor, and that doesn't matter. But just think about that length. The back of your leg is engaged, and then lower all the way back down with that length. Again, low back is lengthened as well. Lift through the legs, and then lower back down. Two more just like this. Last one. Good, and then keeping your forehead glued to your hands, you're gonna lift your head, pause, lift your legs. And then lower everything down, lift your head, lift your legs, and lower. So you're coming up into a kind of modified swan here, with the upper and lower body working together, finding length through the low back, and then also through the front of your body. 2 more. Last one. Bring the arms underneath your shoulder, hands underneath your shoulders. Keep your feet pressing into the ground. Press up onto your knees. Tuck your toes under and find your plank. Lift your hips up into a downward dog. And then come forward into your plank. Lower your knees. Lower yourself all the way down nice and slowly into, or all the way onto the floor. And then keeping your arms, or lengthen your arms back by your side, lift your arms, lift your legs. And then lower everything down, arms come back underneath your shoulders, tuck your toes, press yourself up, curl your toes under, find that down dog. We're gonna do 2 more like this. So find your plank, drop the knees if you'd like, or you can come all the way down nice and slowly, 1 long line, lengthen the arms, lengthen the legs, lift everything into a swan. Triceps are working, your arms are all the way at the same height through the whole arm. And then lower down, press through the hands, lift up onto your knees, find your plank, lift your hips. Last time. Coming into your plank, lowering all the way down, knees or not, doesn't matter. Lift up, pause here, lower halfway, and then lift. Lower halfway, and lift. Feeling your triceps squeezing against your upper arm bone. Collarbone is wide. 3 more. Abs are drawing away from the floor. 2. Last one. Hands come down. Legs lower. Knees or toes curled under. Doesn't matter. Come up. Find your plank. Find your down dog. And then here in your down dog, you're going to stay for a moment. Bend your knees again as much as you need. And you're just gonna reach your right arm toward your left leg and then come back. And then your left arm toward your right leg and come back. And now we're gonna make this a little bit more interesting. So you're either going to be in your plank and then going from your plank to your down dog, reaching towards the opposite arm, just as I'm doing right now. Or you're gonna be on your knees and you're gonna be reaching back outside of that thigh. So you're doing the same movement. Whichever one you want to pick, you can join me. But really think about that opposite rib to hip connection like we did in the beginning of class. Minimizing that weight shift, keeping your hips square, but getting rotation through the ribs. We're going to do 2 more to each side. Moving at whatever pace feels nice. Last one. Good, and then lower down onto your knees, and then come back onto to sit on your feet and just roll your wrists out a little bit, give them a second. All right, and then you're gonna come back onto all fours. You can also be on your forearms as well, your twice. And then think about tucking your toes under, lifting your knees up. You're gonna lift your right toes off the ground, and then extend your right leg back behind you. Bend it in underneath and extend it back and bend it in. And your other option is your knee is on the ground and you're just doing the exact same motion. 3 more. 2, spine is long, you're neutral. Last one, leave the leg there, tap it down, lower the knee. You're gonna leave your left knee, your left knee is gonna stay on the ground. And you're just gonna lift long through that right leg up towards the ceiling. And then float it up and down. 4 more. Pressing up through the floor so you're not sinking, neck is nice and long. Last one. Bring the knee in line with the left knee. Open it out to the side, press it back in that external rotation, rotate it to neutral, and then bring it back in. So open it up like Dog at a fire hydrant, not a fire hydrant. Extend it long, neutral, bring it in. 2 more. Extend, square it off, bring it in. Open to the side, extend, neutral, bring it in. Lower that left leg, shake out your wrists if you need. Either way, you're gonna tuck those toes under. Float those left toes off the floor. Extend, bend it in. So even though you are bending the knee, you're not rounding through the low back. Thinking about reaching the sitting bones long as you bring that knee in underneath you. 4 more. 3. Elbows are soft. Last one. Leave it long. Lower the right knee, untuck the right toes. Tap that left leg down and float it up. And up. Again, checking through that low back. You shouldn't be lifting your legs so high that your back is moving. I'm tired, so I'm noticing that my back wants to arch. 2 more. Last one. Bring that knee in. Externally rotate it out to the side. Extend it long. Square it off. Bring it in. 4 more. 3. 2. Square it off. Last one. Keep lifted through the chest. Last one. Good. Lower that knee down, bring your knees wide, and sit back onto your heels for child's pose. And then tuck your toes under, come into a down dog, and then bring your hands back by your feet. Curl yourself up 1 vertebrae at a time. We're gonna do a couple of things standing. Grab your towel. And then standing up nice and tall, have some room behind you. And you're just going to extend your arms long. Lift your right knee up in line with your hip. Find your balance. From here, if you can, without having your foot touch the floor more than you want it to, extend through the front of that right hip. Feel the glute and hamstring engage. Bend through the left leg and reach the right leg back behind you. So you're coming into a lunge. You're gonna bend down into that lunge so you're open through that right thigh. Lift up and then send your arms forward to lift the left leg, or right leg rather, sorry. And then bend it back in, up tall. And then you're gonna bend the right leg, send it back behind you, get that little peek through the back of your leg. Bend through the left leg, reach the right leg long, come into a lunge. Bend down, lift, and then reach the arms forward, lift through the right leg. We're gonna do 2 more. A little balance challenge here. Wrists are long, coming into that lunge. Not arching through the low back, and reach the arms forward. Last one. Not necessarily Pilates, but it all applies very well in that it's pretty damn fun. And then lower that leg down. Let your arms, legs shake out for a second, and we will switch sides. Arms up, giving a slight tug on that towel. Lift your left leg into tabletop. Reach back through that left hamstring. Bend through the right knee, extend your left leg back behind you, find your lunge, and then come down into a bent knee lunge, and then reach the arms out, lengthen through that left leg. Bring it up in front of you. And then extend it back, bend through the right knee, find your little lunge, lift the next step. And then come all the way up. Press back through the hamstring, bend the knee, and then lift all the way up. Last one. This is hard to talk through and balance at the same time. And then pause at the top, and then come all the way up. Good, you can either do this standing or kneeling. I'm gonna kneel, but your choice. And you're gonna start with your palms up, and you're gonna have your arms at about a 45-degree angle. You're gently pulling the towel apart, and you're just gonna reach your arms up overhead, thinking about the muscles and your shoulder blades kind of wrapping underneath your armpits as you lift to keep you up nice and tall, and then lower back down. And you can also have your thumbs out to the side as well. Extended, not out to the side. Hips are tucked under, keeping connected through the torso. 2 more here. Last one. And then lower your arms halfway down and then bend at the elbow. So if you're used to using a reformer, this is kind of cervitrae. So you're gonna extend your arms by pulling the towel apart slightly and feeling the inside of your elbows lengthen. And then feel like someone is pulling you back by the elbows. And then extend, open up the elbows. And then bend at the elbows to bring it back in. So nothing changes except the fact that your arms are moving. You're only holding a towel, but my arms are getting pretty tired right now. Keep thinking about pulling the towel apart in opposition. 2 more. Last one. Good, lower the arms down, flip the grip, actually grab on behind your back, your palms face away from you. Again, tucked under, tailbone is lengthened down the backs of your legs, and then here you're just gonna extend your arms long back behind you, and you're gonna bend at the elbow and extend. So similar to what we were doing, think like someone is holding your elbows back behind you, and you're just bending, extending. They're staying still in space. Neck is long. You can look slightly down if you feel stress or tension in your neck. 3 more. 2. Last one, keep the arms long, lower down towards your butt, and then lift. And lift. Thinking about lifting slightly more from the pinky side of your hand to help give you extension, or not extension, sorry, external rotation through the shoulders and a little bit additional opening there. 3 more, make sure you're not arching your low back. 2, you're nice and upright. Last one, pause here, and then you're just gonna do tiny little pulses for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend, extend, pulse for 8, 7, 6. 4 more. 3, 2, last one. Shake your arms out, give them a rest. We're gonna do one more thing with the arms out. Bring them in front of you, palms face the floor, and you're just gonna rotate your arm, one arm up, and then to the center, and then over the center. So think about pulling the towel apart. We're gonna make this more interesting. So as you're just doing this nice little rotation, you are going to plant your right knee in front of you. Keep pulling the towel apart, and you're gonna place your weight forward into that right leg, and you're gonna come to stand. Whoop. Easier said than done with that left leg in tabletop. And then if you need to at any point, just hold the towel out in front of you. But you're gonna bend through that right knee and then come back down. We're gonna go up one more time. Coming up tall. Last one. And then bring your right knee underneath you. Same thing on the left side. Pulling that towel apart gently. And then bring your left leg in front of you. Now your right leg's gonna come up to tabletop. Finding your balance, using the towel to also help you balance. Maybe don't look at me, that will help you as well. Finding a fixed spot on the wall. Your knee can go over your toe because that's what happens in life. Last one, and then we're gonna drop the towel. And back down. Good, and then bring that knee underneath you. Bring your towel off to the side, and then come back onto your backs. Have your feet planted on the floor, and you're going to have your feet actually about as wide as your mat, and then just let your head come down onto the ground, let your arms find the ground, and then just windshield wiper your legs from one side to the other. Couple more. Last one to each side. And then find your feet hip distance apart. And then have them somewhat close to your hips, but you shouldn't be able to reach your heels with your hands. And then if you have a ponytail, make sure your head is flat on the floor. Arms come long on the ground, but have your palms facing up to start. And then once you feel your shoulder or your collarbone rather are nice and open, you're just going to roll over from the wrist so that your palm faces down onto the ground, but your collarbone is keeping that openness. Press through the feet, the whole foot, not just your heels, and then press into them as you feel your hips draw up towards your ribs. Press your low back into the floor, and then peel yourself up one vertebrae at a time, and then pause at the top. So you want to feel like your hips are open, your heels are drawing up towards your shoulders, so you're getting activation through the backs of your legs, and then start to peel yourself back down. The hips come towards the ribs, and then they slowly lengthen through the low back as your hips draw then away from your ribs. And then ribs to hips again, peel yourself up one vertebrae at a time. Shoulder blades and head and neck all stay on the floor. And then tuck your tailbone under a little bit more, and then roll yourself all the way back down. We're gonna do one more nice articulated bridge to come up. Pause at the top. And then from here, you're going to find a neutral pelvis, and then find a tucked under pelvis, and then find a neutral pelvis, and then tucked under. So basically you're just keeping your ribs and hips kind of magnetized to one another, but you're giving them a little bit of length, a little bit of flexion in the hips, and then open up the hips. So pelvis is neutral, tuck it under. Widen the sitting bones and narrow them up the backs of your legs. 3 more. Last one, check in with your collarbone, make sure it's nice and wide, and then find whatever is comfortable for you, a neutral pelvis or a scooped under pelvis. For me, it's neutral. And then I'm going to just externally rotate my right leg out to the side. My foot stays on the ground, and then I'm gonna bring it back in. Just staying on the right side. Let that right side fall out to the side. Notice what my hips are doing. Are they shifting all the way over to the left, or is that right hip dipping as I'm externally rotating? Just take notice, and if you need, minimize your range of motion. Also, is your left leg trying to externally rotate as well? Make sure that that left inner thigh is working. Pause at the top, you're gonna switch sides. Left leg externally rotates. Same thing, check in with those hips with your right thigh. Also make sure you're pressing through that right foot still. Your left shoulder may now be taking a little bit more weight than it was before to help keep you square. 4 more. 3, 2. Last one. Pause at the top, and then tuck your tailbone under, curl yourself all the way down. Release into neutral, and then you're gonna come right back up. Pause at the top. Here, stay tucked under if you can, and you're gonna let both legs come out at the same time, and then resist to bring them back in. So if you are, for me, it helps to think that I have straps on my thighs, pulling them out in opposite direction, and I need to send my inner thighs down towards my pelvis, lift my pelvic floor in order to bring them in. 5 more. Nice and slow, only a range of motion that feels comfortable for you. I'm rolling all the way to the outside of my feet because that feels nice. But if that's too much, don't worry. 2 more. Hips stay more or less in the same height. Last one. Good. Pause here, lower all the way down, 1 vertebrae at a time. Bring your knees in towards your chest. And then give yourself a little rock from one side to the left, one side to the other, not to the left. And then hold on to your kneecaps, and then you're just gonna make circles with them like you're stirring a pot, like your pelvis is a pot and you're pressing your femurs down, and then reverse your circle. 2 more. Last one. let your feet find the floor, and then you're going to bring your hands behind your head. You can also grab the towel and use the towel to support your head as well, your choice. But either way, you are pressing your hands into your head, and if you're using your hands and not the towel, actually interlace your fingers, don't just pretend to. And then as you lift, think about getting length, tuck your chin under gently, and then pause to the top, and then just feel your head reach back into your hands and the crown of your head lengthen up towards the ceiling slightly more. You're gonna bring your right leg into tabletop, your left leg is gonna come to meet it, and then you're gonna just twist and rotate over to the right side, extend the left leg, and then to the center, pause with both legs bent, and then switch sides. You can be in a scoop here. Scoop, pelvic tilt, low back pressing into the mat, whatever you wanna call it. If you can, try to get both those shoulder blades off the mat and remain there the whole time. 2 more. Last one. Good. Now you're going to extend your legs up towards the ceiling. Grab onto the right leg, extend the left. You can grab anywhere onto this right leg, but behind the knee. And you're just going to lengthen that leg up towards the ceiling. Your other leg stays hovering. Your torso is lifted. And then switch. Same thing, think about lengthening through that left leg. We're gonna take a second here to get a little stretch. A working hard stretch, but a stretch still. And then you're gonna switch and switch and switch. Your knees can be bent a little if you need. You can also do this with your head and arms on the ground, but if you do so, make sure you're not lowering your leg very low to the floor. You wanna stay connected through that low back. Pelvic floor lifts. 2 more. Last one. Bring both knees in towards your chest and then round all the way back. Just give yourself a nice little hug again. Grab on behind your thighs. You're gonna press your hands into your thighs and press your feet away. Curl your head, neck, and shoulders up. Press the legs into the hands and then pause, lift it at the top in a little modified teaser. Bend the knees, roll back with control like we did with rolling like a ball. Pause here, you can lower your head in between if you'd like. Lift your head, neck, and shoulders. Press the arms into the legs, legs into the arms. Extend. And then bend and roll back. Try to keep your head lifted and shoulders lifted if you can. And then again, back up. Bend. Last one. Good. Find the length in the backs of your legs if you can. If your knees are bent, no worries. My legs don't want to straighten. Extend your arms. Lift your chest nice and tall. There. Maybe you find a little extra length. Point your toes. Lift your arms. Externally rotate your hands. And then slowly lower all the way down, 1 vertebrae at a time. And then find length all the way as you extend your arms overhead. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And then grab on behind your thighs 1 last time and roll yourself up. You're gonna come to stand at the back of your mat. Lift your arms up overhead. Round yourself down 1 vertebrae at a time. Let your knees be soft. Find a weird little crouching position. If your feet or heels can stay on the ground, that's awesome. If not, doesn't matter. And then you're gonna walk yourself out. Feel length from your heels. So your arms are out in front of your shoulders, heels back by or butt back by your heels, and then find yourself in a nice plank. You may have to wiggle your feet back or one way or the other. You can also be on your forearms as well, or on your knees, doesn't matter. And then you're just gonna reach yourself away from your feet and then flex at the feet. Point the feet, reach away, flex and shift your weight back. Again, lengthening through the chest.
Sorry.
So you're not, Alexa is here. 3 more. 2. Last one. Drop your knees. Send your weight back toward your heels. In a little child's pose for a second. And then come back over your hands. You can do full push-ups if you'd like. I am going to stay on my knees. Press your chins into the floor. tuck your tailbone under, lengthen through the upper body. So again, you don't want your upper back all weird and rounded. And then lengthen through the neck. Extend your head away from your tailbone, and then bend your elbows back behind you, almost as low as you can go. You can go all the way to the floor. Lift your hands, press all the way up. And then lower all the way down. Lift the hands, press back in. And if only going halfway is all that works for you, by all means. Don't lift your arms up because then you'll fall on your face. And back up, 2 more. Last one, neck is nice and long. Come up into that plank if you are on your knees. Lift your hips up towards the ceiling. You're gonna find the longest, best plank of the day, whether you're on your knees, your forearms, your hands, I don't care. Find your plank. Peel yourself out 1 vertebrae at a time. Find your rib and hip connection. Find the length in the front of your chest. Your elbows are slightly soft, neck is long. And then from here, lift the hips up like someone is pulling you back. And then you're gonna walk yourself back 1 hand at a time. Let your head be heavy, let your weight be through your whole foot, not just part of it. And then slowly articulate your spine up 1 vertebrae at a time until you come to stand. And then just like we did to start, you're going to reach your arms up and then reach 1 arm up and over while the other arm lowers. Notice how much farther you get. Come up and over to the other side. And then over to the other side. And back up. And then pause at the top. Grab onto your thumbs, hands, whatever. Knees are soft, legs are slightly wide. And then just do a little circle, hips back behind you. Lift up. 3 more. 2. Press your hips forward as you come around. And hopefully the little extra freedom you have in your low back, your hamstrings, maybe your shoulders, reverse. Still think about your ribs drawing in towards one another, protecting your low back, even while you're in that extension. Last one. And then roll all the way down, bend your knees a whole lot. Press your hands onto your shins and extend, lengthen your spine. And then reach your hands down your shins as you round over your leg. And then slide your hands up your shins, press into them, feel your hips press back behind you like someone is pulling you back and you are lengthening your sitting bones away from the crown of your head, and then round back down 1 more time. And lift up and press, extend the spine. Round all the way forward over your legs, grab opposite arm, opposite elbow. Bend your knees even more. Feel your sitting bones draw down the backs of your legs, ribs are towards your hips as you peel yourself up. 1 vertebrae at a time. Reach the arms up overhead. Reach your arms up overhead. Externally rotate through the arms. Reach up onto your tippy toes. Feel like your head is gonna stay here, nice and tall, and then lower your heels down nice and slowly. Press your arms down nice and slowly, like you're a corkscrew. And let your head just find its place on top of your spine. And you are all finished. Thank you. Hope you all enjoy your weekend.